Ever wanted to get something completely for free simply by asking? To walk into any situation and know exactly what to say, how to act, and what levers to pull to get precisely what you desire? This isn't a fantasy, it's a skill. Today we're ripping open the playbook on social engineering, not the Hollywood villain version, but the real-world psychological architecture behind influence and persuasion. We'll show you how to ethically master this power to accelerate your career, deepen your relationships, and fundamentally reshape your reality to get anything you want. Understand why it's a double-edged sword and how to wield it for unparalleled personal gain. This is Capital Sanctum, and your journey to unprecedented control starts now.
Decoding the human operating system.
All right, let's start with the foundational layer. Before you can influence any system, you have to understand its code, its programming. The human mind is the most complex operating system on the planet, but it's not a black box. It runs on predictable protocols, biases, and shortcuts. Forgetting this is like trying to write software without knowing the programming language. First, understand the core principle. Humans are efficiency machines. Our brains are hardwired to conserve energy. To do this, they create mental shortcuts, what psychologists call heuristics. Think of these as
The pitch should be in the lower middle range. Decoding the human operating system. All right, let's start with the foundational layer. Before you can influence any system, you have to understand its code, its programming. The human mind is the most complex operating system on the planet, but it's not a black box. It runs on predictable protocols, biases, and shortcuts. Forgetting this is like trying to write software without knowing the programming language. First, understand the core principle. Humans are efficiency machines. Our brains are hardwired to conserve energy. To do this, they create mental shortcuts, what psychologists call heuristics. Think of these as pre-written scripts or macros that run automatically to save us from having to consciously process every single piece of information. When you see a red light, you don't debate the physics of a potential car crash. Your brain runs the stop macro instantly. Social engineers don't fight this system, they leverage it. They understand that if you can frame a request in a way that triggers one of these pre-existing mental shortcuts, the path of least resistance is for the person to simply comply. The second critical component of this operating system is the emotional processor. Logic is not the primary driver of human decision-making, emotion is. We use logic to justify the decisions our emotions have already made. Think about high-stakes purchases, like a car. People don't buy a luxury car because of a spreadsheet comparing miles per gallon. They buy it because of how it makes them feel, successful, powerful, secure. They then use logic, talking about safety features or resale value, to rationalize that emotional decision to themselves and others. An influencer understands this. They don't sell the features, they sell the feeling, the status, the solution to an underlying emotional need. Finally, there's the system's inherent trust protocol. Humans are social creatures, hardwired for connection and, by default, trust. We assume people are telling the truth. We assume they have good intentions. This isn't a flaw. It's a feature that allows society to function. Without this baseline of trust, every interaction would be an exhausting, high-friction interrogation. This default trust setting is the primary access port for social engineering. By presenting themselves as credible, authoritative, or part of the in-group, manipulators can bypass our critical thinking firewalls. They aren't hacking a computer, they're exploiting the default settings of the human operating system, which is programmed to grant access to those who appear trustworthy. Understanding these core components, the shortcuts, the emotional processor, and the trust protocol is the first, most crucial step to gaining and control.
the architecture of influence, ethical applications. Now that you understand the basic programming of the human mind, let's talk about building something with it. The term social engineering often gets a bad rap, associated with scams and deception. But that's like saying architecture is only for building prisons. The same principles used to construct a cage can be used to build a skyscraper. The difference isn't in the tools, it's in the intent and the outcome. Ethical influence is about architecting win-win scenarios. Let's start with the principle of reciprocity. The human operating system is hardwired with a powerful subroutine. If someone gives us something of value, we feel an almost compulsive need to give something back. This isn't a weakness, it's the code that allows for cooperation and societal growth. How do you apply this ethically? Before you ever ask for anything, a sale, a promotion, a connection, you must first provide value. In a negotiation, don't lead with your demands. Lead by offering a small, genuine concession or sharing a piece of information that benefits them. If you're a freelancer, create a short, insightful analysis for a potential client for free. You aren't tricking them. You are demonstrating your value up front and activating their internal desire to reciprocate, making them far more likely to hire you because you've already proven your worth and generosity. Next is the protocol of social proof. When people are uncertain, their brains automatically scan the environment to see what everyone else is doing. It's an efficiency algorithm designed to reduce risk. You can frame your ideas to align with this protocol. Let's say you're pitching a new project at work. Pitching it cold to a key decision maker is high risk for them. The ethical application is to first build a coalition. Get buy-in from a few respected peers. Then, when you present the idea, you can frame it as, I've already discussed this with the leads in engineering and marketing, and they're both aligned with this direction. You're not just stating your opinion, you're providing social data that makes it easier and safer for the decision maker to say yes. You're showing them the path others have already validated. Then there is the concept of authority. We are conditioned to defer to credible experts to save ourselves the time and energy of mastering every subject. You don't need a formal title to be an authority. You build it through demonstrated competence. In any discussion, don't just state your preferences. Back them up with data, with precedent, with clear, logical reasoning. Speak calmly and with conviction. When you project competence and expertise, you aren't demanding compliance. You are offering people a mental shortcut. They can trust your judgment because you've proven you've done the work, making it easier for them to follow your lead. This is earned influence, not unearned power. Finally, the most potent tool in your architecture is rapport. It's simple. We work with and help people we like. Building rapport isn't about being fake or manipulative. It's about genuine curiosity. Before you make a request, take the time to understand the other person's world. Ask intelligent questions about their challenges and successes. Listen more than you speak. Finding authentic common ground, a shared goal, a similar challenge, a mutual respect for each other's work builds a bridge. When you make a request from the other side of that bridge, it's not seen as a demand from a stranger, but as a reasonable ask from a trusted ally. The key distinction is intent. Manipulation serves only you. Ethical influence serves the mutual goal. You are using your understanding of the human operating system not to exploit its bugs, but to communicate with it more effectively, creating outcomes that are beneficial for everyone.
The dark patterns, when social engineering goes rogue. Every powerful tool can be weaponized. The same principles of influence we've discussed, reciprocity, authority, trust, can be inverted and used to exploit, deceive, and steal. This is where social engineering crosses the line from influence into manipulation. These are the dark patterns, the malicious code designed to exploit the vulnerabilities in the human operating system for purely selfish gain. Understanding them is your primary defense. The most common dark pattern is pretexting. This is the art of creating a fabricated scenario, a pretext, to obtain sensitive information. It's not just a simple lie, it's an entire narrative. For example, a malicious actor might call your bank's customer service, armed with your name and date of birth found online. They won't just ask for your balance. They'll pretend to be you, creating a story of a lost wallet and an urgent need to freeze an account. They leverage urgency and fear to make the employee bypass standard security questions. The employee wants to be helpful, triggering the trust protocol, and the attacker exploits that good intention to gain access. Then there's phishing, a technique you've likely encountered. It's a shotgun approach, sending thousands of emails pretending to be from a legitimate authority like a bank or a major tech company, hoping a small percentage of people click a malicious link. But its far more dangerous cousin is spear phishing. This is a precision strike. The attacker researches you specifically. They know your name, your job title, who your boss is. They then craft an email that looks like it's from your CEO, mentioning a project you're actually working on and urgently instructing you to transfer funds to a new vendor or a critical document. This leverages the authority protocol on an extreme level. Your brain's shortcut says, the boss is telling me to do this, and it's urgent, which overrides the part of your brain that should be asking, is this request unusual? Another dark pattern is baiting, which weaponizes the emotional drivers of greed and curiosity. The classic example is leaving a USB stick labeled Q4 layoff list in an office lobby. The bait is so tempting, so emotionally charged, that an employee might pick it up and plug it into their work computer, completely ignoring all security training. Their curiosity hijacks their rational thought process, and in that moment, they unleash the malware hidden on the drive. The attacker didn't have to hack a firewall, they hacked the person's emotional response system. All of these dark patterns have one thing in common. They create a state of heightened emotion, fear, greed, urgency, curiosity, or even helpfulness to shut down your logical, analytical brain. They aren't trying to defeat your computer's firewall, they're trying to bypass your mental firewall. Knowing these tactics isn't for you to use them, it's to recognize them. It's to build the habit of pausing, especially in moments of high emotion or urgency, and asking, does this make sense? That single question is your ultimate defense against those who operate in the shadows.
Building your influence blueprint. Practical strategies. Theory is useless without execution. Understanding the human operating system gives you the schematics, but now it's time to be the architect. You need a blueprint, a deliberate, strategic plan to get from where you are to where you want to be. Wishing for a promotion, a successful negotiation, or a specific outcome is passive. Engineering it is active. This is how you build the machine. Step 1. Define the objective with surgical precision. Your first move is to define your goal with absolute, unsparing clarity. I want to be more successful is a worthless objective. It's a daydream. A blueprint requires coordinates. Instead, you define it like this. I will secure a senior project manager role with a minimum 20% salary increase and direct oversight of the alpha project within the next 3 months. See the difference? One is a cloud of vapor, the other is a target on a map. A precise objective is measurable, time-bound, and specific. This clarity is the foundation of your entire campaign. Without it, you are building on sand. Step 2. Map the influence network. No decision happens in a vacuum. Your next step is to identify every individual connected to your objective. This is not just an org chart, it's a network map of human influence. Who is the primary decision maker? This is the person with the final authority to say yes. Who are their key influencers? These are the trusted advisors, respected peers, or direct reports whose opinions the decision maker values. Who are the gatekeepers? These are the assistants or managers who control access to the decision maker. Finally, who are the potential blockers? Individuals who might actively or passively resist your goal.
For each person on this map, you need to understand their primary motivations, their challenges, and their communication style. You are mapping the terrain before you move your troops. Step 3. Select your engagement protocols. Now, look at your map and your objective. It's time to choose the right tools for the right person. This is not a one-size-fits-all operation. For the blocker who is purely data-driven, your protocol is authority. You will prepare an undeniable, data-rich case proving how your objective benefits the company's bottom line, neutralizing their opposition with pure logic. For a key influencer who you know feels overworked, your protocol is reciprocity. You will proactively find a way to take something off their plate or solve a problem for them, creating a debt of goodwill long before you ever mention your own goal. For the primary decision maker, your initial protocol is rapport. You will engineer opportunities for brief, non-transactional interactions to build a human connection first. You don't lead with the ask, you lead with the protocol best suited to their psychological profile. Step 4. Sequence the rollout. Influence is a campaign, not a single battle. The order of operations is critical. Your blueprint must have a timeline and a sequence. For example, weeks 1 to 2, execute the reciprocity protocol with key influencers A and B. Provide tangible value with no strings attached. Week 3, schedule a meeting with the data-driven blocker and present your authority-based case. Week 4, use the goodwill you've built to get a 15-minute meeting with the primary decision-maker focusing entirely on rapport. Week 5, circle back to your key influencers, informally share your ambition, and gauge their support. Week 6, with your support solidified and potential opposition neutralized, you make the formal, direct request to the decision-maker. You don't just stumble into the final boss's office, you clear the entire level first.
The ultimate leverage: consistent outcomes. We've deconstructed the human operating system, we've blueprinted the architecture of influence, and we've mapped the dark patterns. But individual tactics are just components. They're like having the parts of a high-performance engine laid out on the floor. The ultimate leverage, the thing that separates the amateur from the master, is assembling those parts into a cohesive system that runs on its own. A mindset that produces consistent, predictable outcomes on autopilot. First, you must master the art of live calibration. A blueprint is your plan, but no plan survives first contact with reality. In every interaction, you need to be running real-time diagnostics. This isn't just listening to the words people are saying, it's processing the sub-communications, the subtle hesitation in their voice, the slight shift in their posture, the micro-expression that flashes across their face. This is data. This feedback tells you if your current protocol is working. Is your attempt at rapport being received as genuine, or is it setting off their defense mechanisms? Is your display of authority being seen as confidence or arrogance? Most people are so focused on what they're going to say next that they completely miss the constant stream of data the other person is broadcasting. The master influencer processes this data instantly and calibrates their approach on the fly. They treat every conversation not as a monologue, but as a dynamic feedback loop. Second, you must commit to playing the infinite game. Anyone can use a cheap trick to win a single negotiation. You can use urgency and pressure to close a deal, but you'll burn that relationship forever. That's a finite game, a single transaction with a winner and a loser. The ultimate leverage comes from playing the infinite game, where the goal isn't to win, but to keep playing. Your reputation is your single greatest asset. Every interaction is a deposit or a withdrawal from your bank of social capital. When you build a reputation for providing immense value, for being rigorously honest, and for creating win-win scenarios, the game changes. Doors open for you automatically. People bring you opportunities. Your reputation becomes a gravitational force pulling your objectives toward you. Short-term manipulation is a fool strategy. Long-term integrity is the ultimate power move. Finally, and most critically, you must achieve internal frame control. Your external reality is a direct reflection of your internal reality.
If you walk into a negotiation hoping for a good outcome, you have already lost. Your uncertainty will be projected and it will be detected. You must operate from an internal frame of controlled, rational inevitability. This isn't arrogance. It's a deep, unshakable belief in the value you bring and the meticulousness of your preparation. You have done the work. You have mapped the network. You have selected the protocols. You have provided value up front. The outcome you desire is not a hopeful wish. It is the logical conclusion of the process you have engineered. This internal certainty is the most powerful influencing agent of all. It's a quiet confidence that radiates, making people want to align with your vision. This is the final piece of the puzzle. The ultimate leverage is not a trick or a tactic. It is the integration of these three pillars: live calibration, infinite game thinking, and internal frame control into your core being. When you master this, you stop chasing outcomes. You start creating them. You no longer hope to get what you want. You simply engineer the conditions for it to happen. That is how you get anything you want.
You now possess the foundational understanding of social engineering, not as a tool of deception, but as a framework for profound human understanding and ethical influence. The power to get what you want isn't about brute force. It's about precision, empathy, and strategic communication. Apply these principles thoughtfully, build your influence blueprint, and watch as your aspirations transform into achievements. The world is yours for the shaping.